Yes, hearing thank you conveys gratitude, but I'm just wondering if the real reason that we as women want to hear more of it is because the sincere expressions of appreciation from our loved ones are just so reassuring. It's like they're really saying, I know you had a lot of other things you could have done with your day or your life, and from all those things, you chose to take care of me. That matters, Mom. That matters, wife. You matter to me. Well, you matter to me and Dell. So this is the Best of the Wifesavers podcast, and we're going to share more about the whys behind gratitude and the hows behind how to get and maybe give more of it. Enjoy.
Bags are packed, are you ready to go? This time tomorrow we'll be on the road, riding with you in the sunnier days. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Welcome to the Wifesavers podcast, where multi-award-winning author and global marriage educator Ramona Zabriskie provides answers to your real wife questions. Our goal is to help you appreciate your womanhood, prioritize your personal development, and craft a powerful partnership with the man in your life. Hi, I'm Hannah Allen, and I'm proud to introduce my parents, Ramona and Dale Zabriskie. And yes, this is how they talk all the time. Let's listen.
Hi, this is Dale Zabriskie, sitting across the Costco table from Ramona Zabriskie.
No, we're not in Costco at a table.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, the hot dogs will be arriving
We have
shortly.
a table we bought at Costco.
Okay, glad you clarified that. It's Thanksgiving week.
And time to go to Costco.
You better hurry up because there's probably nothing left. But it's time to be thankful.
In the United States.
That's
well,
right.
no, wait a minute. It's time to be thankful everywhere.
Right. We just have to have a holiday to remind us here.
Yes, we get to be thankful for one. Don't you love how you're thankful for one day and the next day you're going out, gimme, wah, 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 bye.
You're elbowing people out of the way and tackling them at Walmart or wherever. Yeah, that's it.
I did my one day of thanks.
We did it. We have to have a holiday. Other countries are better at it than we are, I guess. They don't need it, but it's good to be. It has
always been one of my favorite.
It is
holidays.
Absolutely, and it's good to have that in our lives. Thankfulness.
Yes, and I am grateful for the many positive responses we got to last week's episode about how his criticism hurts, what to do when he's unfair or unkind. I think that was the title.
Yeah, and I think it resonated with a lot of women.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
But I think today's going to help a little bit, those same people. But anyway, here's one of the responses, and I love it because it has the words thank you in all capitals. I just want to say thank you for your podcast and your Wifesavers membership program. So this is one of our Wifesavers members. Our marriage was pretty good, but your program has helped it to be great by helping me to adjust my perspective. We are both happier, ! And podcasts like this one, referring to the one about how his criticism hurts. And podcasts like this one helps me realize that when my husband does say something that hurts my feelings, he really didn't mean to, which has enabled me to not feel so bad about it. So you remember how we broke down the different kinds of criticism? So she's talking about that unintentional criticism where he actually thinks he's trying to help her somehow. He didn't mean it as criticism. And there is real straight out criticism. If you haven't listened to the episode, you need to really listen to that to learn to react or respond optimally to the different types. But here she says what it did for her. She realized her husband fell into that category, and that really helped her. And she says, you have helped me to renew my gratitude for the truly good man. And that's all capitals in her email. The truly good man I married, and to let him know that You are doing a great work.
Well, that the truly good man relates back to her comment about perspective.
It had everything to do with perspective. And you know what we're going to talk about today has so much to do with perspective, as everything does in marriage. That's what she's starting to learn. But today, really, really, this is applicable.
The lesson, one of the lessons here is judging hopefully of people, right?
Even your spouse.
Even your spouse, if that's comprehensible to you. But it is. It's all about judgment. It's all about how you look at it and realizing, hey, he's a really nice guy. He's a really good guy. And you get caught up in these little smarties and little things that we talked about in episode 12.
Yes.
So that's great that she's starting to put that together.
I'm so happy she's happier. And then he's happier because she's happier. And everybody's
Mom ain't happy. Nobody is happy.
Exactly. So here's the question for this week. And you see how this all ties together. She says, I am very thankful. That's how it begins.
Okay.
I am very thankful for all you do to help so many families. Trying to follow not only my lessons, but also the podcast. So here we have another Wife Savers member. She's doing the lessons and listening to the podcast. I was wondering maybe my question could be relevant to other listeners. My husband and I are having difficult times because our relationship is missing 3 very important phrases.
What time is it? Are you ready? Sorry. Probably not.
Those are the ones you wrestle with. The ones in this marriage are, I am sorry, you are welcome, and thank you.
Oh,
okay. How could I help my husband practice these phrases more?
Practice these phrases. Okay. All right. Now stand straighter. Stand up now. Now look serious when you say this. And now here are the words. You're welcome. Try it with me now. Try it with me. Ready? No, that's not quite right. That's not quite right.
Stop it. I'm sure that's not what she's thinking. But I appreciate you're thinking about a rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta rehearse.
Obviously, how can I help him to say this more often? And she says, I try to model them, but nothing really changes. I understand that this is a wound he carries from his family.
Okay.
So maybe there wasn't a lot of appreciation expressed in the home he grew up in.
Expectations of things.
Maybe so, right. But how could I help our family while multiplying these phrases? I love that. Multiplying these phrases. And then guess how she ends it.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
Thank you.
There you go.
She says, thank you. So what a great question. I bet this applies. We would all love to have those 3 phrases multiplied in our family.
We want to breed those phrases, whatever it takes.
But I'm sorry to say that we don't have time to cover all 3 phrases. Each one of them is worthy of a whole specific podcast. Yeah. So we will come back to talk about I am sorry. We may even come back to talk about you're welcome.
Yeah, both of those, and especially the sorry and the aspect of forgiveness.
That's huge.
Really requires
that may be the third biggest question, most oft asked question that I get from my women. But today we're going to focus on the last one, which is thank you.
Thanks.
All right. It's Thanksgiving week. It just seems to fit.
I like it.
Right? Thank you. Let's talk about just thank you, those 2 words, because that's what she'd really like to hear more. Thank you is just what? It's just good manners.
Absolutely. I mean, you say it, you probably, maybe in this situation too, we end up saying thank you more often to people we don't know that are providing some service at a store or a restaurant than we do.
This is what she's
the Mills brothers. You always hurt the ones you love. Is coming back to me.
We take our loved ones for granted.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah.
So thank you is just good manners, and we forget good manners in our own home, right?
Sure.
Thank you conveys respect. Have you thought of it that way?
Well, absolutely.
Because you're acknowledging another person's value or contribution and their equal contribution. So thank you. And thank you, I say, connects us. It bonds us.
Well, how so? What do you think?
For instance, I always had my children say, I really tried to teach them to say thank you to their teachers. at the end of every school day, or when they got into high school and so forth, at the end of every class. And then they carried the habit right into college. So as they would leave class, they would specifically say, I thank you. Or if they're getting off a bus, they would say thank you to the driver. And that teacher, I try and do it on an airplane. Do you say it, thank you, to the flight attendants as you're leaving an airplane?
Sometimes the pilot's standing there as you come off or whatever. They're saying they got the perpetual frozen smile. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
But when a passenger says it back.
Yes, exactly.
In that little tiny moment, you connect with that other human being.
The other thing I like to do is this doesn't really apply so much at home, but it's an attitude of respect. If I'm in a store or something where someone's helping me and they have a badge on with their name,
oh, yeah.
Might be a restaurant or could be some service organization. I always use their name.
You do?
I say, thanks, Bob. Thanks, Susie.
No, I'm thinking about that. I think you do.
Well, whatever. And it's like, if they're going to wear the badge, I might as well acknowledge it.
All right. You haven't just connected with them. You've gone a step beyond and sort of bonding.
Yeah. And it makes such a difference where they just it's almost like, how do you know my name? They forget they're wearing it on their shirt.
That does convey respect.
Absolutely. And you could do that same thing. Not that I'd say, thank you, Mona, or thank you, Ramona.
But you know what? I love it when you say my name.
Hey, Mona! Like that?
When you say my name.
Okay.
Yeah, and especially in that context. Thank you.
Yeah. It's important.
So
and if I'm going to do it with somebody that I only know their name because it's on their shirt.
Yeah, I don't have to wear a badge.
You might want to. Yeah, maybe you should. Maybe that'd be a start for some people. Is put the badge now. Okay.
Don't forget.
That's right.
It's my name. Well, and last week, those are reasons to say thank you. What it really means. But last week when we talked about criticism, which is as opposite as you can get to thank you and appreciation as possible, criticism, we talked about why it was so meaningful to her that she did, to avoid criticism, to tone down the criticism, know how to handle the criticism was really, really important to her. Well, it's those very same reasons that make this week's topic, appreciation, so important to her. So I'm just going to sort of review that as women, we have a fear of or an aversion to that feeling of being unimportant. Well, being unappreciated.
Yeah, that's right up there.
I don't feel important to you.
Connotes that you're not important. Sure.
Exactly. I can also feel a fear as a woman of losing myself in the family, just sort of be a disappearing woman. We talked about that. Yeah, becoming more and more a non-entity. What do I do around here? I just cook and clean.
It's expected and
whatever. I just drive the kids, or I just, and I'm supposed to be here for everybody, and no one says thank you. Mm-hmm. So she gets lost in the shuffle. And that's very fearsome to women. And of course, the other is feeling dominated and controlled. That's abhorrent to a woman.
Yeah, and certainly a thank you doesn't exist in that situation.
Absolutely
because
not.
Because it's all expectations.
It's all expectation, exactly. And the expectation that she carries her really unfair share of the family life, right? She wants to feel like her marriage is a full partnership. And partners appreciate each other. They need each other. They use each other, but then they appreciate the contribution that each one makes. They value it. And then she also has a fear of losing him or apathy. Well, unappreciation.
Yeah, it can start there.
Is that a word? We're always making up words. Is unappreciation a word?
You're unappreciated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inappreciated?
I'll talk to the printer about it. Unalienable, inalienable.
You know what I think is a better way to say it? Underappreciated.
Underappreciated.
Yeah. Okay. So if she feels like he's apathetic towards her she's losing him somehow because he's not ever looking at her with fresh eyes. That sense of gratitude, like, wow, look at what you do. You go, woman, how much I love you, how much I appreciate you. That's all she wants. So...
And that little tiny thing, think back to your time. I certainly have not been very good at that in our full marriage, and you're going. But I found when I would be appreciative, and it's a small little thing, it buoys you up. It just kind of renews.
It has a magical effect on me.
And you keep going.
Yes.
Right?
I suddenly have the energy I need to face the crying baby or whatever.
Whatever the situation is.
Oh, absolutely. But if I feel like it's just an expectation, another responsibility that you could care less, that you're only looking out for yourself, I lose heart. I lose heart.
Put another log on the fire.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So,
I'm thinking of songs for all this for some reason.
I know, for some reason. We always go to music.
That's right.
I wonder why.
We should.
Could it be that we're musicians?
Maybe.
Yeah. We have a number of grandchildren, and I'm thinking of the now 7-year-old who will go unnamed. We'll call him B-Boy, right? And he was 3 when this really fun little story happened, all right? He was accused by another 3-year-old.
Well, boy, don't you know that's going to the Supreme Court. That's right.
Of saying thank you too often. I'm not kidding. Like they're on the playground or something. She goes, "You sure say thank you a lot. Why are you saying thank you again?" Kind of thing. And when I heard that story, I was a little bit proud as a grandma because if you're going to do too much of anything,
you might as well err on that side.
You might as well err towards thank you. So, but what if this B-boy can stay in that habit?
Yeah.
His wife is going to be thanking his mother, his father, and hopefully us, all the adults in his life who modeled that way of living. That simple courtesy that makes such a difference. Appreciation works wonders in any relationship. Just like we were talking about, even the store clerk.
Yeah,
Appreciation
absolutely.
works wonders in any relationship, but it is the most powerful between a husband and wife. The two people who tend to overlook it the most often. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy, we said, to just expect. You got your job, I got my job, go through life, blah, blah, blah.
You just said it, though, that actually countering that and making the effort to be appreciative is so easy. A 3-year-old can do it.
That's right. Exactly.
All right, let's talk for a minute about how our husbands really bomb at this. And I mean, they're bad sometimes at this.
All right, guys, get ready.
Don't worry.
Here it comes.
Don't worry, it'll come around. We're not going to really go into... Her question is, how do I help him to do this better and more often?
Practice.
Yes, how do I practice this? And we're going to get to that. But first, I just want to focus on what are some of the ways, and maybe we'll help some husbands out there to see the light, right? So basically, being unappreciative is not appreciating something for its real value or a person for their real value. And so here's some of the things I came up with. Maybe you can think of some more, right? But do you remember last week's question about criticism? It really sums up how husbands feel at this.
Yeah.
Because she said, the message I get from him is that I'm not measuring up and that he doesn't see anything. And she put the words anything in all capitals. Anything that I do, he never compliments me on how nice the house looks or stuff like that. But when it's out of order a bit, he says I should tidy up.
So there's no appreciation.
Right.
But then there's focus on the little things that aren't right in his mind.
There's no verbalization of the appreciation. Right. So she takes him as being a very, very critical person, even though it could be that it's unintentional criticism. That's one of the 3 kinds that we talked about last week. And what she says is that he doesn't notice what she actually does around the house. And here's the thing. She mentioned specifically the house. Not all wives are into the house. Mm-hmm. It is not a given anymore that a woman is a housewife.
Right.
It's not by that's just like way back there somewhere. Today's woman, if she chooses to focus on being a housewife, thinks of herself more as a homemaker. And it's a craft. It's an art form that she's refining and takes a lot of pride in. It's a lifestyle choice. And it is of the same value, or should be considered the same value, as a woman who makes another kind of lifestyle choice where she has a housekeeper and she, whatever.
Has a career outside of the home or
right. And the
corporate world.
Homemaker may very well also have a career outside the home. It isn't that she happens to stay home all the time, but it's just lifestyles. And we all have, you know, we're not all rich and famous lifestyles, but
But I don't think it's so much that. It's just a choice of how you want to do that in your home.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is I want him to appreciate what she does do around the house, because it's not a given.
Right.
It's just as valid that he's going to be the one to take care of the house in today's world. So he shouldn't. I would love for husbands not to just expect that otherwise, but to really appreciate it. Yeah. When that kitchen's a little shinier than he would have left it, or whatever.
But wouldn't you agree that if the guy is expressing this appreciation on a more regular basis, that when something is out of whack,
she doesn't take it so personally?
Exactly. It can be discussed.
It's discussed more in the team spirit of things.
Right, exactly.
Like we have, I see that, what can we do about that? Right. Instead of you.
Right.
Should have.
Or didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. He may also not seem to notice her appearance. Women just crave that. I do, too.
You do. Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't seem to care about the effort she puts into parenting. This is a complaint I get a lot. Women will say, I'm reading books about parenting. How do I get him excited about the new things I want to try with the kids or whatever? Mm-hmm. And if he just sloughs off parenting, like, well, no, that's your job. You worry about it. Then that's not appreciation. Yeah. Obviously, she doesn't feel supported in there. Maybe he's apathetic about her job or her employment, just acting like, yeah, you do your job, I do my job. Why do I have to show?
Or maybe he thinks the job's in the way of her doing the other work.
That could be too.
He's not appreciative of.
Ooh. Yeah. Or doesn't take it into account, mm-hmm. That she's she's had it at the end of the day, and we need to both work at bathing the baby or whatever. He may be unsympathetic to her emotions. That's another aspect of appreciating her womanhood.
Right. But you find that a lot because of the way, as you teach, women and men process emotions
we talked a lot about that in other episodes.
Right. But that can be not appreciating that fact and the way that she would be dealing with the emotion at a given time.
Yeah, right.
It can be difficult.
And women would love for him to comprehend and actually appreciate the woman and appreciate that her emotions are
acknowledged.
If seen with the right perspective, are actually a gift to the family. Mm-hmm. That is another whole podcast. I want to talk about that. But in that same vein, he may be overlooking her overwhelm. He's slow to jump in and help out.
I've been guilty of that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I think I've said this before. I sit on the couch and watch you go by like the Energizer Bunny, right? Back and forth, back and forth. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's amazing that she does all that. And then I changed the channel to something else.
Let me know if you need help.
Yeah, I'm here. Right. I'm here.
He may treat her like a non-entity in the company of others. That's really low.
Yeah.
But that would be, see how respect and appreciation are tied together?
Yeah.
Or he may be forcing her, from her point of view, to bring up her own successes.
No, not championing her.
Yeah, she'd love to be bragged about, for instance. Or she'd love for him to initiate celebrating their anniversary, or him to plan her birthday party. She doesn't have to do it, because that's another demonstration of appreciation, right? So those are just some of the ways I thought about, and I'm sure we could come up with a much longer list of the way men fail to express appreciation.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you don't feel too bad. We're going to believe me, I'm going to make you feel better by the end of this.
Oh, I hope so.
Because here's one way. We're going to talk about now how, and she wasn't expecting this, our questioner. We're going to talk about how she fails to express appreciation. Like, we got to look at both sides of the road, both sides of the coin.
It has to just become more of just a way of life for the
a reciprocal way. Right. So she might not have thought of this in this way before, but maybe she is spending the family income with little or no thought to partnership, responsibility, She's just taking for granted, I need the money for this and I'm going to go spend it on that without, ever really consulting with him. That's a possibility. Or she may even demand it.
Yeah. So we're assuming here maybe that he's the breadwinner. He's providing the income in that situation.
Maybe in that dynamic.
Okay. So you've got that dynamic going on there. So, often they're going to say, well, here's your budget for the household. And we've done this. I know guys do this. Here's your budget. I don't care how you spend it.
Well, that's fine. That's one way of managing finances. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's fine. That's autopilot. But that she would never express appreciation.
Yeah. It's just assume
for those funds of whatever kind they are.
I got my $20 and I'm going to go use
it. Here's the other thing. She may be contributing as much or more to the family income.
Sure.
But so because of that, she forgets that he's contributing. Appreciation is valuing the contribution a person or the value they add to your life. And so
whatever way that happens.
It has to happen. It's a logistical, everyday kind of thing for family, but we're talking about being grateful for the everyday kind of things in a family. She may be apathetic about his interests.
His hobbies. Or
not appreciating
stuff.
that he actually has gotten very good at this particular thing he's been working on. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe she turns to others for help or challenges instead of to him, not appreciating what he might actually that he has some experience, he has some wisdom, maybe he has some ideas for her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, putting something together here or something for a school project or something. I think what you're getting at here, we've talked a little bit about, and especially with the question, I just want to hear thank you. I just want to hear the words thank you.
Yes.
But what you're getting at here is more of a mindset about and little things to be aware of that if I were to think of it this way, it would foster more appreciation in the relationship, right?
Exactly. Because what it really is, especially in marriage, I mean, I guess it applies to every relationship, but we really want to zero in target here the marriage relationship in that it's an overall awareness. This is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
An overall awareness, it's a focus on a person's assets and contributions rather than their deficits.
Yes, exactly.
So we're training ourselves, we're really practicing a perspective, which is seeing what they do rather than what they don't do. It's looking really deep into their heart and, how can you even say that you really know a person? And how could you possibly say that you really love a person if you don't appreciate them?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what I see so often. Marriages losing that softness. I'd say your loved one. I often say, have you done this for your loved one? And it's a little bit of a to women, like, what did you just say? They a little blip because they don't think of their husband as their loved one.
Yeah, it's kind of like he or she who will not be named. You can kind of get into that thing of, I'm not even going to say the name. If you're really down the road there, instead of it's my husband, it's my wife, it's Bob, it's Sue, as now. I like that. I like that it's a loved one. Yes. It does kind of open up that you're not really exactly sure who I'm talking about.
No, I'll say your loved one. And you know what I mean. But I also say your husband. I rarely, if ever. Now, my mentees who work with me personally, may have to rewind in their brains to say, is that true? And they're going to realize it is. I never use their husband's name.
Now, I've heard you do this. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When I talk to him, I'll say, your husband.
It's all about the relationship.
Husband. I'm talking about the relationship. Yeah. I'm also trying to give the respect back to that word husband. I respect your husband as your husband.
Yeah, in that role, in that position.
And you know where I learned that from? We're kind of get off track here. I learned that from a mentor that I worked with. I learned all my stuff from real wives. And I observed that when she talked about her husband, she never called him by his first name in front of me. She'd say, my husband, with such definitive respect. it really impressed me. She'd say, my husband says this, my husband says that. And that might turn some women sort of off today, like, what? Are we first names feels more respectful or I don't know. But to me, that was very impactful. And that worked for her. So I try to convey that same respect to my students.
But I think what you're talking about is the relationship aspect.
It's about relationships.
It's all about that positioning. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that marriage, as I was saying, loses its softness when the couples expect more than they appreciate. And saying thank you is a really big step in the right direction, but it's not the one answer to everything. So this letter writer is very focused on those words. She wants to hear the words, thank you.
Right.
And I don't blame her.
Right.
We've gone through all the reasons why she's justified in that and why she feels that way. But do you remember our very first response that we read today? It wasn't the question for the week.
No,
it was the response to last week's episode, right? In which she said how much happier she was, how much her husband, there's just so much more happiness in their marriage because her perspective was changing. So that's what I'm about to do. We're going to change our perspective just a little bit. We're going to break now for just a minute so I can invite you to my free live masterclass, Understanding Your Husband and Sons. In my work with women in over 70 countries, I found that most of us, when it comes to our husbands and sons, think like Carol in Kenya.
I was expecting him to think like me, behave like me.
Or Dana in Idaho.
Shouldn't we just be the same and shouldn't we just agree?
Or Anne in Oregon.
I grew up in a culture where there was a lot of eye rolling and sighing about guys.
And that's too bad, because when we act or react based on false expectations, we end up feeling like Catherine or Farinaz.
I didn't feel I could relate to him because I didn't understand him.
Thought maybe he had to do something with me, and I was taking it personally.
Or getting riled up like Carol.
Made me mad. It's crazy. It was frustrating,
And acting like Anne.
I used to think he should know what I wanted without me having to ask.
Which just erodes our relationships and blows up our dreams. So that's why I created Understanding Your Husband and Sons, a super fun, eye-popping deep dive into his brain, body, and emotional makeup. Women have been coming from all over the world and coming away from our time together with an exhilarating sense of hope and power, because now women like Amber, Ann, Dana, and Allison understand
How to communicate my needs. How to be clear about it, how not to be run around, how not to manipulate.
The way I communicate with him isn't any more aggressive or threatening to him.
I can see why he's reacting or why he's responding that way. That's helped to avoid a lot of the hurt feelings that I used to have.
So if, like Jeannie, you're thinking,
okay, I need to reboot how I think about marriage and men and how they're loved.
Please join me at this free live masterclass, Understanding Your Husband and Sons. I'll teach you things you have never heard before and that you won't hear anywhere else. Science and strategies that will knock your socks off and make all the difference in your relationships.
And it just changes everything about how I see him.
There's this huge potential that I was not really tapping into because I didn't fully understand it.
I think the biggest piece is this understanding and appreciation.
We're both so much happier now.
And in how you see yourself.
My confidence as a woman has skyrocketed.
We've made it so easy. Just go to wifesavers.org/masterclass and choose a day and time. I'll meet you there and even answer your questions live. Because like Carol in Kenya or Cindy in Argentina, you'll want to be able to say,
oh, we're wired differently. And that's the beauty of life.
And it set me free. It allowed me to say, okay, I understand now.
and I loved him more than ever.
wifesavers.org/masterclass.
Oh, I recommend it to everyone I meet.
There's a difference between saying thank you and appreciation. What is it?
Well, I think that it has to be, we talked about it, it's a mindset of that interaction and that relationship that exists. And it's easy to say 2 words.
Okay.
If you don't really back it up and support
there's no
it,
action behind it.
No action behind it. It's then if that becomes the thing, if it's just I'm hearing the words thank you, but it doesn't, it's not congruent with the actions and activities, then it's useless and it loses all of its impact.
Oh, that's so true.
Right?
Oh my goodness, that's so true. So when we're expressing appreciation, we're actually performing an action of some kind. We're recognizing the value of something we've received or the time someone has spent with us or on us. Or, like I said earlier, the contribution to our life that they make. Yeah,
without that, the thank you then becomes sarcasm as well, even. Could be viewed sarcastically. Oh, well, you said thank you, but it doesn't really.
This whole part of the discussion is meant to help us. Now we're changing our perspective, right? Little by little. And we're getting away from the words thank you. I want to talk about other forms, other expressions, other ways to demonstrate that thank you that are more natural to him.
Okay.
And if
easier for him to practice. Right? I don't have to stand and pull my gut in and okay, ready? Thank you.
Have to form the words.
Yeah, that's right.
It's because listen, I know this is true, but I'd really like to have you verify to our listeners.
All right.
That husbands learn really early on in the marriage, and really to their dismay, that a wife's craving for time and affirmation, validation, and appreciation, and those words is never fully satisfied.
Correct. Absolutely.
Isn't that kind of discouraging when you first realize that?
It's never enough.
So saying I love you, if you said it every day, every hour of every day, it probably wouldn't be enough.
And the whole relationship, I think probably every marriage goes through the courtship where the guy's all over, and roses and expressing verbally and by actions all this appreciation because he wants that thing.
Well, not just that. It's a biological thing.
Well, sure.
The pheromones kick in, and he turns into Mr. Lover Guy, and he's eye contact and all of that.
It's all about what he wants.
And then
what he's trying to get.
Those hormones, they start to lessen,
subside,
and Mother Nature gets him focused in other directions.
Right, and that's I think the point. But most people don't comprehend that, and so they go, "Well, where's my Romeo?"
Right.
Now that we're married, now that he's got it,
right?
He doesn't
we were
care.
on the flying carpet, and I just landed.
Yeah, I can show you the world, baby. There's another song we got. Another
hey,
song.
What happened to that singing on the magic carpet thing?
That's right. Yeah, but it's biological. Right. And but now what has to kick in, the guy has to kick in and realize there's a reason for this and it's intentional, right?
Right. So, but it is discouraging when he realizes that she wants a very specific form of validation and appreciation, and that he's not doing it.
Right.
Even though he thinks he's doing it.
Well, yeah, I'm bringing home the bacon. I'm doing all these things. You got a house to live in. You got a car to drive. You got a blah, blah, blah.
You know what I'm thinking of Fiddler on the Roof. After 25 years,
that's right.
He's like, what do you need me to say I love you for?
Yeah.
What do you call all this other stuff we've been doing?
Right. That's where a guy's head is at.
Okay. So this goes back to previous episodes when we've discussed how, generally speaking, this isn't true of men across the board. We're not stereotyping, but it is a common biological trend that men are not as much linguistic as women.
Really? No.
Took me a minute to get tired. I'm sorry, honey, but you have one language center in your brain, maybe two. You might have two.
That's why my head's so big.
But they're on one side of the brain. No, I have the big head because I have 7 language centers in my brain.
That's why my brain is lopsided. It's on one side. That's why I'm listing all the time when I walk.
No, The other side of your brain is filled up with spatials.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good.
But mine's filled up with language, and it comes very easily to me. And you remember the corpus callosum? I
remember. I've been practicing and exercising my corpus callosum.
That bundle of nerves that connects the two hemispheres.
Let me show you how big it is now. Come over here. Look inside there. Look at that.
You've been practicing.
I have.
Very good. So the point is, since language isn't necessarily his preferred mode, of expressing himself, he's more performance-based. He is performance-based and oriented at the deepest, most essence level of just being a guy. And part of that means that action is his language. Right? So he's how does that translate into appreciation?
I'm going to do things for you.
You're going to do things that show that you appreciate me.
Going to mow the lawn or
yes. Whatever. Oh, good. Thank you. But I don't think about that. I just think you're doing your job. Of course you're going to mow the lawn.
That's right.
But in your mind, you're doing this for me. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Is changing the tires on the car that?
Yeah.
Is filling up the car with gas? Is getting the car running on a very cold morning and you know that I'm going to be going out to a really cold car and you get out there ahead of time, turn on the car for me?
Yeah, that's it. It really is. That's my mindset.
You've been cleaning the kitchen a lot lately because I've been so busy.
Yeah.
Are you appreciating the work I'm doing and busy at by doing that for me?
Absolutely. And it going back to this aspect of partnership, right? These things, whatever they are, your work, the kitchen, the lawn, the tires, they have to be done. Things have to be done. And so, one of the things that I think we've learned, and I know I've learned in our 40 years together is, okay, let's just get it done. It really doesn't. It's not a your thing, my thing so much. There are certain things that fall into that category. I babysat the grandson here the other day, and for the first time
so that his mother and I could have some time out together.
That's right. And for the first time in I don't know how long. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking years. I
don't know. What is it?
I changed a poopy diaper. Okay.
Above and beyond.
It is. I went way on. I won't tell you how long it took me or how many I had to use in order to get the job done. But that's like, way up there.
And
long time ago.
And in church the other day, I sent the 4-year-old to you and said, have Grandpa draw you a T-Rex, because she asked me to draw a T-Rex. And I'm like, I don't know how to draw it. So I sent her to you, and that was so hysterical. We couldn't stop laughing, and in the middle of church. But I really appreciate that you tried.
Thank you.
And I felt like
it looked like a penguin. I mean, come on. I don't know.
But the point is, those kind of little things are things that are contributing not just to my life, but they're really a way for a guy to say, I appreciate that you're busy. I appreciate all that's on your plate. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate
you can't draw
your
a T-Rex.
Expertise. I appreciate your expertise with the children and the grandchildren. And I'll get in there and be a good sport about it too. That's all part of his language. And for her to start to see that nearly everything he does is really for you and about you, especially when he goes a little bit out of his way that way to turn on the car on a cold day or to draw the T-Rex for the 4-year-old and to occupy the 4-year-old for a few minutes so you can focus on what's going on. That's all I'm talking about. Now, I want her to appreciate his appreciation, but she should still pursue the thank you thing because that's important to her.
Yes,
it meets a need for her. So it will help her to change her perspective just a little bit, appreciate his way of being appreciative. But at the same time, if those words are that important to her, she can use the language of respect to express to him what she needs. And he will appreciate her doing that, being succinct and direct and clear and unemotional.
Right. Tell me
when
what you
she
need.
says, it would mean a lot to me if you said thank you. Once, not just, if you'd say thank you more often, he did it once and that was it. If you would say thank you right now when I say that, what do I say to you? I say, it would mean a lot to me if I got a Yahoo for you.
Yeah.
That's our little phrase. And you're like, oh, she needs me to say thank you right now. And you're really good about it. You'll say Yahoo for you. Yeah. And then I usually say yippee for me.
That's right. I'm on-demand kind of guy. I can do that.
Yeah, but you've learned that it's really important to me. And because you love me, you do respond.
And another thing that you like to hear is that you're pretty.
I do.
But specifically those words.
I don't mean to be vain, but
no.
I think you find
I think
pretty.
that you're pretty.
Right.
And that's another little thing that I have to just be more aware of and drop it. And guys, listen, how long does it take to do?
Yes.
And it's not that you're not sincere. Not that you're manufacturing the whole thing. But you look at her and you go, man, that is one beautiful woman. Say it.
Oh,
just
I love that.
Honey, you look really pretty today.
Thank you
love
for
that,
talking to the guys.
Right.
But I'm going to talk to the girls.
That's why you're here.
I'm going to say to the girls, when he looks at you, the way he looks at you means...
is a form of appreciation.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
He might not say the words, but what does he... Every once in a while, you catch him looking at you. That's a form of appreciation. So I love what you're saying to the guys. Say it again. You said, just drop it. Just drop those.
Just
two
say
or three little words.
Say what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Well, careful with that. It depends on, maybe it depends on how he's looking at you. How he's looking at it. We can talk about that later. Yeah. That's right. When that's appropriate.
Right. Those pants are getting a little small. Huh?
Yeah,
Don't say that.
Well, you know, when she says, you don't want to say that.
Be careful what you say.
That's right.
All right.
You can't be too honest.
I hope that kind of helps with a little bit of a perspective change, maybe for both of them, for her especially. But how important if she says she's trying to model by saying thank you.
Right.
And that's great. We've talked about that being a really great step. I'd like to take us even a step beyond that, so that not only is she saying thank you, but she's expressing or demonstrating an actual action, like you said, that expresses appreciation. So appreciation is one of the laws of attraction. There's 10 of them that I teach in the Wife Savers membership, education membership. But appreciation in this sense is just, the message is, you're so helpful to me. That's it. You're so helpful to me. And so you're communicating recognition of a man's contributions to the family. For instance, we already touched on this. He craves appreciation for his labor to provide for the family, no matter the actual hours or the actual dollar figure.
Appreciate the way I change a poopy diaper?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Thank you.
But you inserted something right there when I was trying to make a point, which is that this idea of his contributions to the income of the family.
Okay.
Or that he works hard for the family, no matter how much you might also work hard. It's appreciation for whatever hours, whatever he's putting in, and that can't be overstated. And it's because it's not just the paycheck that we're talking about here. It's very kind, it's very wise to thank him for that, but it's expressing that simple verbal gratitude for his attempts to do anything that contributes to the family, including helping around the house. So a lot of women don't forget this, or they don't understand the importance of it.
It's also, I think, forgive me, but I'm bringing up poopy diapers again, because it's a matter of, sometimes it's a scorekeeping. You know, right?
Yes.
How many times did she do that as opposed to you? Well, it's about time you did that. And
so true.
Stay away from that scorekeeping.
Yes, scorekeeping. Right. Mature mentality does not work. That might be worthy if someone ever asks us a question along those lines for a podcast episode. But if he comes home from work, many of the women I work with have learned about themselves. That the way they used to think was that he'd come home at the end of his day and he's thinking, I just contributed 50 points to the family.
Whatever.
And she's thinking, yeah, you did your job. That was 1 point. There's this big gap in their perception of that particular contribution. I'm just saying appreciation towards him will include that was probably worth 50 points.
Yeah.
Right?
And a couple of yahoos for you.
Yes. Yes. Some yahoos for you. And here's the other thing. He might be helping around the house and she had to ask for his help specifically. Mm-hmm. Well, if she has to ask for it, it's not worth a thank you.
Doesn't get a point.
Or if it's his responsibility anyway, he's supposed to mow the lawn. He's supposed to do whatever. Then she forgets the thank you. Or it's not quite up to her standards.
Mm-hmm. Cleaning the kitchen.
I always tell you, just last night.
Yeah, that's right. This happened last night.
You cleaned a big messy kitchen.
It was huge.
After a big messy dinner that you made. I might.
So wait a minute. I just want to clarify something. I'm not really known for making messy dinners.
Oh, you make delicious dinners.
Thank you. Yes, we had some steak and stuff.
Comes with it.
Right.
And I find a lot of joy in being your sous chef and cleaning up after you. But I didn't have that time and that opportunity last night. And so you did it. You often step up that way. But as you were finishing up, I said, don't worry, honey, I'll take care of the finish work.
Yes, that's right.
And because I knew you will have done the dishes, the counters would be mostly clear, but I knew that the stove wouldn't be shined, the towels wouldn't be hung just right, the granite wouldn't be shined.
I shine the stove.
The floor wouldn't be swept. So we've come, instead of me getting angry about that,
and
lecturing
not doing the
about
job
that
correctly or to your standards.
Exactly. I appreciated what you had done. Do you see? It's the focus on what someone does do. I wasn't in there for hours cleaning up. You did all that. And then because I'm in that frame of mind, I'm not all full of resentment and angst. And I just, don't worry, honey, I'll take care of the finish work.
Right.
And I go in and shine everything up and sweep everything up. And now it's all...
It's just right.
It's just right. It's up to my standard. And even we also forget to express appreciation when someone isn't expressing appreciation to us, or that's our perception. So saying thank you and doing something to demonstrate that recognition, we call it the happy dance in Lifesavers. And it's because it makes him happy too. And
I like your dances.
You like my happy dance?
Yeah, baby.
Here we go. So it's celebrating what you want more of.
Yeah.
Right?
That's practicing.
Yeah. It's celebrating. Right. I love it. Yahoo for you. Listen to this. This is a letter I got. This husband, 8 years into their marriage, he says, nothing says I love you to me more than to be appreciated. So he's equating appreciation with I love you. And our letter writer is too, I think. Nothing says I love you to me more than to be appreciated. She acknowledges and often tells me how much she appreciates all that I do to support our family. And that means a great deal to me when she throws her arms around my neck, gives me an extra smooch.
Okay.
I haven't heard that word for a long time.
That's it.
And tells me I'm her hero for emptying, right, the garbage or cleaning the toilets.
You become a hero, guys, if you take out the garbage, and a superhero if you clean the toilets.
That's a super duper duper hero.
And then there's that poopy diaper thing,
He says that, that's a super duper poopy hero.
So it was a super duper poopy diaper.
That makes it all worth it. It is both validating and gratifying to hear her sincere appreciation. Now, here's the most important line in his letter. Listen closely.
I'm here.
This is for the women. From a man. Nothing makes me more desirous of pleasing her.
So, ladies, if you want more of all of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Celebrating. You want more of her appreciation.
Yep.
Nothing makes me more desirous of pleasing her. So how can she show him appreciation? Maybe she can thank him for working so hard, or make him a special dinner once in a while and say, I just want you to know how much I appreciate.
Acknowledging the effort. I mean, there's going to be times at work where it's a difficult time and stressful. Being aware of that, being acknowledging, being appreciative, being sympathetic, being all that stuff.
Instead of making him feel guilty or bad about it.
Yeah, right.
And adding to his stress.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe she speaks very respectfully of him. in front of the children or in front of others. And I've heard women who say, help their children to appreciate their father.
And what the stereotype that still exists about the husband being another child, another one of the children.
So demeaning.
And that happens a lot. And that's certainly going to break.
Right. We want to actually elevate him.
Yeah.
Not only in our own eyes and in his eyes. We want him to feel better about himself so that he can mature into his best self. He's got a long way to go. He's got a lot to learn. He'll never get there without you believing in him. So that goes back to the episode about believing in him.
Right.
Remember?
Right.
But here we're helping the children to even believe in him and in their good dad, in our nice guy. She avoids whining or crying about the things they can't afford. For instance, instead of appreciating what they do have.
Right. Going back to appreciating what they do have. Right.
And she really tries not to default to accusation that you never say thank you to me. You're not loving enough. You're not supportive enough. And there's lots of ways of saying that, not just those exact words, but really making him feel like he's inadequate, he's a failure. We can go that route and browbeat him into saying, I love you.
Yeah, but then like we talked about before.
Browbeat him into saying thank you.
Yeah, it's of no value and it becomes sarcasm.
But going back to the husband who said, nothing makes me more desirous of pleasing her than when, we have to be careful because when we model, what's our real motivation? So I'm saying, thank you, honey. Did you pick up on that? Did you hear me say thank you? Okay, now come back, say it to me. Yeah. As opposed to true, honest, genuine appreciation, said or demonstrated in many ways. And then do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the true modeling.
We have our...
without expectation in return.
The 2-year-old grandson right now, the mommy's going, say thank you.
Yes,
she's modeling, but sometimes the wife treats the husband kind of that way, right?
Yeah.
Say thank you. Yeah. Can you say thank you?
Right. But if he feels her genuine and pretty, constant sense of real appreciation for his masculinity, for his contributions to the family, for whatever he does, not what he not does, what he does.
Right. What's doo-doo? That's that doo-doo thing.
He's going to want to please her.
Yeah,
and
totally.
At that point, when they have that kind of warm relationship, when she says, it would really mean a lot to me if you just, gave me a Yahoo for you right now. Or just say, honey, I love the way you look right now.
Right.
And he's going to, you would do that in a heartbeat.
It's
You'd
a
want
culture.
to do
You're
it
developing this culture of your family.
Yes.
Basically.
And your partnership.
Yeah.
Right. Your marriage. So those are just some ideas. We could come up with a long, long list of ways to express gratitude because it is so easy to do in so many ways. It can be incorporated into virtually every kind of phrase or action or interaction.
This idea of culture, I just kind of thought about this. Every company in the world, every corporation talks about their culture.
Yes.
And you hear people, well, what's the culture of your company?
And this is what our letter writer wants. She says,
true.
How do I help our whole family this way?
And so there's so much emphasis on the workplace of the culture. Is it a safe place? Do you enjoy being there? Are there good things?
Yes.
There free food? Whatever it might be.
Yes.
Let's translate that into the home.
Ooh, yeah.
And create a culture, a very intentional, purposeful culture.
Yes. Oh, but you know what? We're talking about the reciprocal nature of this in order to build the culture, but that really begins with the one. Whoever's listening right now, really, really, instead of what you want someone else to do, it's how can you do this even better? And so when you talk about beautiful culture, I'm thinking of a culture of gratitude. We haven't used that word today yet, because I think it's a level up. We've got thank you, the words. Then we go up a level. That's appreciation, which is an action. But what is gratitude? It's more an attitude, right?
The attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, it's an approach to life. It's a state of being thankful.
It's the culture,
right?
That exists.
It's a constant awareness. It's a constant awareness of the positive aspects of your life. And you know what? Gratitude takes practice.
Yeah.
An attitude of gratitude. And then that spreads to a culture of gratitude in your family. All of that adds up to that beautiful and feeling existing between all the family members. And you know what? Not all the time, of course.
No, it's not.
There's lapses in appreciation all the time in our families. But if it starts with us, the individual trying very hard to develop that constant awareness and just that way of thinking, that paradigm, that perspective shift, it will spread in the family.
It'll grow.
It will affect it. You too can have a 3-year-old who says, thank you too much. And maybe even a husband that says, thank you
now
too
you're going
much.
a little too far, but we're going to try to get there.
One last letter. We're reading a lot of letters today, but this is from another of our listeners. And she says, this Thanksgiving season, and I think this expresses gratitude. This Thanksgiving season, I'm very grateful for the marriage and family I have, chaos and all. Now, I should add, this is the last paragraph of a very long letter. And in the very long letter, she told me about losing 3 of their 4, her husband's parents and her parents. 3 out of 4 were gone now in the last 24 months.
Wow, in 2 years, they lost 3/4 of their parents.
Yes.
Wow.
And and then she just went on to list a number of other really
just huge
upheavals,
events.
In their
Chaos,
family life.
says.
And it has been a real strain on their marriage. She ends that letter, not with complaints, but with this. This Thanksgiving season, I'm very grateful for the marriage and family I have, chaos and all. I believe it's all God's plan that the 6 of us are put together to learn and grow and support each other through our trials, even if we drive each other crazy sometimes. I'm extremely blessed.
Perspective. There it is.
Hi, this is Ramona. The Lifesavers Education Membership is my very personal, interactive approach to teaching you everything I know, and my way of providing the ongoing love, encouragement, and support you will need as you create the life and the love you married for. Your Lifesavers education is going to prove more valuable to your ultimate well-being and happiness than any other kind. Learn all about it at lifesavers.org.
Home is with you wherever that may